So today that we are, good morning Tarindu. So we are planning to start working capital management, which is another component requiring, good morning Tarindu, requiring to assess the project appraisal, so overall project cycle. So we'll start with working capital definition, importance of the working capital, and then we try to see kind of some computations involved in the working capital while discussing about working capital management. To support that, I have given you a written reading material, so you can read that whenever you are going through whatever the presentation. That's for additional knowledge, right? So I have given those two tudes, one presentation, one reading material. So basically, just before start, we try to understand what is this, working capital, why it is important, and then how we try to understand this working capital concepts in project financing, and especially in the day-to-day businesses. Dilanj also now joining, right? So generally in the business, we can identify two components. One is fixed capital, working capital. So fixed capital is like a financing of fixed assets. Could be land, building, machinery, so sort of things where you have a longer what do you call realizable life. In addition, that you need some kind of day-to-day requirements also in the business to carry on in the business effectively. So day-to-day requirement means it could be something stock, it could be something about data, it could be anything about prepaying some kind of expenses. So those are some of the things that we are thinking of day-to-day financing. So similarly, you need to invest some money on that, and then you also need some money in order to pay off your creditors, pay off your short-term liabilities like overdraft interest, short-term revolving pledge loan, like that. So that all is something, not the fixed capital. So that is basically about working capital. So without working capital, can we run a kind of a business? That's a $1 million question. So generally, you can't do that. Why? Because if you think about yourself, yes, you have some house, car, so whatever, we assume those are fixed investments. But in order to run your life in day-to-day purposes, you need some petty cash. You need to buy some of your eatables, some of kind of expenses. For that you need to have some kind of a money. So that's in personal life also, we have some requirement. It's not very big, but a kind of a requirement is like going up and down. So within the month, some day it could be high, some day it could be low, like that. Similar in the business also, we need to have that day-to-day operational financing requirement. That could be something related to working capital. That's one. Number two, when you discussing about the working capital, so the working capital could not be very high, could not be very low. It is to be maintained at a manageable level, acceptable level, or based on industry, you need to maintain that. Why is it so? Because let's say if you have money, so then you can purchase stocks. instead of keeping stocks for about 3 months, you can keep stock for about 5 months, 6 months. What it means? So you have stocks for your requirement more than what you want, which means you have invested whatever money. It could be equity, it could be debt, unnecessarily. So that may not give you a effective outcome of managing stock there. Similarly, like debtors. So in order to meet the competition, in order to have the market share, so you might have different sales techniques. So sometimes you might done most of your sales on credit. When you are trying to do that, instead of cash sales, you have a credit sales. Means higher number of debtors, which again work negatively towards your business, because higher number of debtors means higher collection efforts, risk of moving some debts into bad debts, so increased provisioning as a result of that. And then again, you are not getting the cash at right time in order to manage the working capital. So different, many things could happen in that way. That is mean excessive working capital. Suppose instead of excessive, you are trying to keep minimum working capital, minimum investment on assets, current assets. That is also not good, because if you get a good order, if you have to deliver that, now you see you don't have stocks. You need to go to again creditors or some kind of a quick, immediate purchasing of some stocks and raw materials and all those things, which might have impact on your cost of production. That's also not good. Or in the other side, when you are trying to deliver it to your customers, so they might see a kind of a delay. So again, some kind of reputational issue on your product or service. So like that. So it is important that you think about managing working capital, not excessive, not in a deficit also. That's one thing. Then somebody would argue, if I have money, what if I will invest on stocks? So then think about whose money. If it's not a debt capital, it's a equity capital. So equity capital in the sense, yes, you have earned something, you have saved something, but again, you try to invest on working capital, and you see that I don't have an issue. No, I don't have to pay to bank because this is my money. But again, thinking about extended debtor period, stock piling up, deterioration of stock levels. So again, you are losing your capital. So that's why sometimes when you are visiting some customers, we see, a higher number of stock level. That might not work positively towards you, because if you are, holding that much of stocks means one thing is like, you are not achieving sales according to the stocks. So we will later learn about what are the exact ratios that we need to maintain in managing stocks, managing working capital. We call them efficiency ratios, because very important, right? So managing working capital. So just wanted to give you a kind of some understanding about working capital. Then though we are not discussing it in today's presentation, when we undertake some past papers, yes, we can discuss it in detail. That is about some issues in working capital. What could happen if you are not managing your working capital properly? It could be, we talk about over trading and under trading. When we are undertaking some past papers, yes, we will discuss it further, because now if you are not managing properly, working capital could result some issues towards the business. That is, again, we should not encourage, or you should, you know, stop those things happening, because it could have an impact on business initially about efficiency, liquidity, final profitability. So working capital is that much of important in a business. I just want to give an, you know, overview of, like, you know, this working capital importance, why we think the working capital is important, right? What do you understand by, you know, working capital? What do you understand by managing working capital? Like, so the overview I just want to share with you before starting the formal session. So before moving to the formalities, any thoughts, any feedback, any views about working capital, any general questions you have it? If it is so, then, you know, have it. It would be easy for us to capture, address those things while we are discussing the working capital in detail. Any thoughts, any kind of clarifications that you need to have? Maybe something past that, if you want to get it clear here. Any questions, any feedback? No? Okay. Anybody who sat the exam yesterday? Harid, you were telling me that you are sitting some exams. Is it on today evening or what?
Yes, I sat yesterday.
So yesterday was the paper financial management.
Sorry, I couldn't catch you.
No, what was the paper?
Yesterday, monetary policy and financial management.
Right. How was the paper?
It was not that difficult. So I was it's a kind of a marginal. It's not that difficult, but it is not that too easy also.
Right.
So can manage actually.
Right. But generally that paper was a bit difficult paper, right? In general, right?
Even especially for financial management, it used to be difficult. Even in 2019, it was very difficult.
Right.
But this time it was straightforward questions. They have not given some difficulties. The questions, like those calculations, are basic, straightforward stuff. So I think this time they are not that making it too hard.
Yeah, that's good, no? Because if it is the trend, then actually we can expect some kind of pandemic sort of outcome.
Exactly.
That's good, because so many students are like, you know, even day before yesterday, I got some calls saying they were, you know, asked to, you know, be quarantine kind of. I mean, a lot of problems, I know, but still we need to manage. But in that sense, if the paper is not so difficult, then it's something, you know, kind of a blessing for you all. Let's see that today. When will be the next paper for you?
7th, development finance.
So we have time.
I have only 3 subjects, so 2 already finished. Just the development finance is there. The issue is I sat development finance for 2 times. I know something wrong. I am very confident with that subject, but I write almost maybe 2 books, but nothing. I'm like confident, but when the result comes, I failed actually 2 times.
Right.
Credit management and everything was I did 1 time, but this subject, I think something wrong with me.
Generally, it can't be, because development finance now you see is very like easy sort of subject.
Yeah.
But let's see now. Even you have 1 week time. If you have anything, please, you know, come through my mobile. So
sure. Thank you.
If you have any queries, like, we will finish it off, and what's the best way.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay. So formally, we are trying to start the today's session. That is working capital management, right? Working capital generally involves managing different components in current assets and current liabilities. So what is these current assets and current liabilities? What are those components? Generally, we have, when you say current assets, those are like stocks, debtors, prepayments, as something cash in bank, cash in hand. So those are some of the key components in current assets. But out of that, stocks and debtors are very key, right? When you say stocks, if it is like a trading business, we talk about finished goods. If it's a manufacturing, We have raw materials, we have work in progress, and we have finished goods. So that how we are going to manage in that, especially these stocks and debtors, is key in working capital management in current asset management. Comes to current liabilities, again we have deferred tax, short-term loan payable, OD interest payable, accrued expenses, and creditors. Then again, most important part under the current liabilities also is creditors. So generally, we need to manage stocks, debtors, and creditors. So when somebody asks about that is working capital, so the working capital is would be understand in the next slide I'll tell you as gross working capital and net working capital. So what is gross working capital? What is net working capital? What are the key items under current assets? What are the key items under current liabilities? So like that, so you need to explain. So we will learn in that way. Should ensure there's a sufficient liquidity in the firm's operations. So basically, when you talk about working capital, we are trying to learn two concepts. One is liquidity, one is efficiency. So liquidity is something, so how well you can meet your current liabilities, current obligation when they are mature, so how best you can service them. That's what generally we talk about a liquidity level, right? Let's say if you want to pay your creditors, and then you should have some cash or in hand or bank. If not, there may be banking lines approved. If not, there may be collections that you have got through your debtors. Even after that, if you have some stocks and deposit and get some money to pay off your creditors, pay your current liabilities in the form of short-term bank loan, short-term loan interest kind of. So that's how we are going to manage your liquidity. It is common to personal, it's common to even bank. So these days you might be hearing that bank also have to maintain a liquidity ratio kind of a level, right, as mandated by the directed by the central bank. So you can't keep low liquidity, so that result that you've been penalized. So even at an institutional level, you need to maintain the liquidity. When it comes to the firm, when it comes to the business, working capital is very important because it addresses the liquidity level of a firm's operation, right? In addition, it addresses the efficiency levels of the firm's operation. So we will separately learn what require to have adequate liquidity, what require to have adequate efficiency. So the working capital have two components. Mainly, we have gross working capital, we have net working capital. So what is gross working capital? So the gross working capital is basically we call investment in total current assets. Very simple. So what is the components in the current assets? It is like stocks, debtors, cash in hand, cash at bank, prepayments, like that. So how much of funds are invested in these items is your gross working capital. Very simple. Then we are required to compute net working capital. So what is net working capital? That is current assets minus current liabilities. So what is current assets? Current assets could be stocks, debtor, and cash, like that. What is current liability? Creditor, accrued expenses, and so on and so forth. So the difference between current assets and current liabilities will give you an idea about working capital, net and gross. Also, we have some further classification of working capital. That is permanent working capital, temporary working capital. Permanent working capital is something where, irrespective of time, you need have some investment in a business. Can anybody give an example? Let's say if you have an outlet, it's a clothing outlet. So irrespective of day-to-day demand, you need to have some stocks in display. Because otherwise, say when customer comes, if you want to purchase some kind of a clothing material, you might have to have some selections. Let's say days collection or maybe weekly stock, and based on that, so you can give it and complete the transaction. But if he is interested in selecting one of the materials out of some stocks, then though he's not going to buy everything, but you need to have some stocks in display. Otherwise, right, he doesn't have any idea to select. So that stock may not be sold within a week, within a month or so. It might, be kept for about 3 months, 6 months until the pattern is over or so. So that type of investment in working capital we call is a permanent working capital. In addition, you have temporary, because permanent, on top of that, there may be ups and downs. Let's say in some clothing store, 2 million to 3 million permanent stock. Whatever day you go, there may be minimum 2 million stock levels are being maintained for about last 6 months. So that's permanent. So in addition, another 1 to 1.5 million stocks being floated up, down. Maybe today you have 1.5 million, following day 1.3 million, following day another 1 million, again 1.4 million. So like that, based on the demand, you might order. That is being fluctuated. That is called temporary working capital. So it is common to any business, either trading or manufacturing. So key concepts like gross working, net working. How to compute gross, how to compute net. Again, permanent working capital, temporary working capital. When somebody asking about managing working capital, so you need to know these concepts. Sometimes this might be tested in past papers. I mean, that much easy, but being tested. So if you put it into graphical form, it's like this. If you see in a company's assets against time, you see fixed assets are increasing over time, and then on top of that you have permanent current assets. That's what we call permanent working capital, and in top of that there may be a temporary current assets. When you say the permanent working capital and part of the permanent current assets, part of the permanent working capital and fixed assets are in long term, because being funded, being kept for long term. So might be funded through long-term debt, through equity. And part of the permanent working capital and totality of the temporary working capital is being funded short-term and short-term oriented also in terms of timing perspective. Okay, means so we have concepts: long-term funding for long-term investment, long-term asset, short-term financing for short-term assets. That is general understanding. But there may be some occasions where when part of the short term could be used to fund the permanent working capital, though it is intended for long term, right? So if you see this graph, so we also can find some working capital strategy, though I have not indicated here. Generally, you have kind of working capital financing strategy. Means if somebody is trying to finance even part of the fixed assets and full permanent working capital in short-term funding, we call them as aggressive strategy. And in other way around, if you are trying to finance temporary working capital, permanent working capital, and fixed asset, and everything is being funded majority through long-term funding or equity. That is we call very conservative, right? So you have two different policies. One is aggressive, one is conservative. In conservative, what happens is, I mean, you have very low risk. Why? Because everything is funded in a long-term nature, maybe through equity. Nothing to lose, because nothing to lose in the sense it's your own money, but you invested. Even temporary working capital is funded through equity. Very stable businesses. But there are businesses in other way around, even part of the fixed assets being funded using the short-term funding. Let's say you see a situation where a company has funded it, maybe some kind of machinery and part of vehicles through overdraft. There may be occasions. It's not advisable. Why? Because you can't pay off the short-term debts by realizing those long-term assets if it is a requirement. Ideally, short-term, long-term, long-term. But we might have two extremes. Where long-term funding like equity and long-term loans being used to fund the short-term assets, even temporary working capital. So that's conservative. The other way, even part of the fixed assets being funded short-term loans and OD kind of thing, which is very aggressive, right? So we prefer make a kind of a balance, right? Where short-term, long-term, or maybe part of long-term to be used to fund a small portion of, let's say, major portion of permanent, and the part of short-term to be used to fund the small portion of permanent working capital. So then it's more acceptable way, not very risk-free, not very high risk. It's more average sort of financing policy, right? That's because beyond something, I just want to tell you, sometimes like those type of strategies, working capital financing strategies, we might be able to understand when we observe, inspect a business in day-to-day happenings, right? We are trying to understand another two concepts, that is operating cycle and the cash cycle. So an operating cycle is basically when you see a manufacturing firm, you have raw material, you have WIP, you have finished goods, you have account receivables. So total time taken to manage stock, to manage debts. In the other words, total stocking period, total debtor period, or stock residence period, debtor turnover period will be your operating cycle in a firm. So how long you keep stock, how long you keep debtors, when you try to add these two, will give you a operating cycle. In a manufacturing firm, when you are computing the total stocks period, it will be raw material, WIP, finished goods, and every three of items together you taken total time. Similarly, if it is the operating cycle for trading firm, that is how long you keep the stocks, that is finished goods, how long you keep your account receivable, that's debts. So addition of the time taken of finished goods and the account receivable or debtors will be the operating cycle in a trading firm. These are two concepts that we will be learning further through a kind of a question, so that you can get a better idea on what is this operating cycle and what is this in a trading firm and in a manufacturing firm. Then working capital cycle, or net working capital cycle, or cash conversion cycle is operating cycle minus creditors period. Operating cycle minus creditors period. So that's another equation. So sometimes in questions, we have been asked to compute operating cycle. So operating cycle is defined as inventory conversion period plus receivable conversion period, right? Cash conversion cycle is basically defined as operating cycle minus creditors period. So we need to know how to compute inventory conversion period, how to compute receivable conversion period, how to compute creditors period. If we know how to compute those three, then we are in a position to compute operating cycle and the cash conversion cycle, right? So this is how we are computing those three ratios. Basically, we call them activity ratio, efficiency ratios also. In generally, inventory conversion period is average stock, average inventory divided by cost of goods sold into number of days per year. How we are going to compute average inventory divided by cost of goods sold into number of days. That's inventory conversion period. The receivable conversion period is average debtors, average receivables divided by sales into 365. So average debtors, average receivables divided by sales into 365. It's a receivable conversion period. Creditors period, average creditors or average payable divided by cost of goods sold into 365. So not difficult. Generally, if we given those numbers, we are in a position to compute those parameters. So this is called activity. Efficiency. If you remember earlier, I was telling you in managing working capital that you need to address two things, that is activity, liquidity. So liquidity is basically consists of two ratios, current ratio and quick ratio. Activity is basically about three ratios: inventory conversion, receivable conversion, creditors period. So inventory conversion period is average stock divided by cost of goods sold is in 365. Receivable conversion is average debtors divided by sales into 365. So creditors period, average creditors divided by cost of goods sold into 365. Right. Any questions up to now? Any questions? Thanks, Taridu. What about Malaka, Dilanja? Is it clear up to now? Thanks, Dilanja. What about Malaka? Is it okay with you? Thanks, Malaka. Okay. So now we move to a bit of computations. Right. So we have been given two accounting periods, and for that we have given inventory, account receivable, accounts payable, and also we have been given sales, cost of goods sold also given. Right. Take 2-3 minutes and try to compute inventory conversion period, account receivable conversion period, a creditors period, and then we try to find operating cycle and cash cycle. So don't look at the answer. So we know how to compute the stock turnover period, debtors turnover period, creditors turnover period. And take So we have been asked to compute for 2008. Sorry, yes, 2008. Right? You have 2007 figures. You have 2008 figures. Now see whether you can compute the numbers. That is, take average and divide by cost of sales and into 365. Right. Let's give effort and then we will discuss. First, compute stock turnover period, and then we will see what is the answer. I think you can see the board, right? Tarindu, you can see the board, right? Board in the sense screen, right? Now is it clear? Sorry. Tarindu, okay, right?
So when you are getting this average, sorry, cost of goods sold, in that
Right.
also do we have to get the average?
No, that we need not.
Year-end figure.
Yeah. So what basically the idea here is, now I will explain that also. Now we have two accounting period, that is 7 and 8. So one set of numbers are from P&L, the other set of numbers are from balance sheet. So in order to minimize the impact of computation errors, we will get that average. But if you are trying to get averages for both say denominator and this thing, then we might not have that impact address. Hence we say, if we take average inventory, then we take the cost of sales for 2008. So there you are not going to change the cost of sales figure for 2008. We take at same as that, and then inventory bill average 7 and 8, because here we have been given 2 years and asked to compute a particular equation for 1 year. And if you have been asked to compute the ratio both years, then what happens? Then you need not to take the averages, because why? You are comparing the same thing in the same manner of computation. But here we have not been asked to compute 7 and 8 separately. We have been asked to do 8 alone only. That's why we say average on stocks divided by cost of sales. That for 2008. So let me the answer, please. First, what could be the stock number? Stock residence period. Please let me know the answer, and then we will go to the debtor. We will go to the creditor. What's the stock residence period? Stock turnover period. What is the answer? Tarindu, what is the answer for stock turnover period? Yes, 74.9, 74.9 Dilanj. Malaka, you got the same answer? If not, please let me know. Right, very good. Then we'll move to the debtor account receivable turnover period or debtor turnover period. There again, you need to get average, but instead of cost of sales, now you are getting the sales as the denominator. See whether what is the answer you are getting. Because if this is the receivable conversion, average debtors or receivables divided by sales into 365. See whether what is the answer you are getting. $60. Yes, Malaka, you are getting the same answer. Okay, very good. Then we move to the creditors turnover period. See what is the creditors turnover period. Right, 74.60. Then see what's the creditors turnover period. So what could be the answer? 55. Yes, 55. Malaka, you are getting the same number. Okay. So then we have computed all three, that is stock, debtor, and creditors. Then it's not a big deal to compute the stock. That is operating cycle and the cash cycles. Here, inventory conversion period is basically average into cost of sales into 365. Receivable conversion this way. Operating cycle is so creditors period. So then cash conversion is operating cycle minus cash conversion. So I don't see any difficulty. Let me know any questions out of this. Do you have any questions? Any any difficulty, gray area? Nothing? Clear? Fine. So let's see that actually we have missed one question when we are doing the Malaka is asking. Yes, you are very correct. If let's say if we exactly know what the credit purchases, and if we exactly know even the credit sales, right? And if we know credit sales, actually debtor should be divided by credit sales. So here credit sales has not been given. Then we take total sales as the denominator. In terms of purchases also, average creditors divided by credit purchases if it has been given. If not, we use the cost of goods sold. Very good question. Is it okay with Dilanja and Tarindu? When you see the question, you may understand that if they have not specifically mentioned about credit purchases or credit sales, then go ahead with the sales number and the cost of goods sold and do it. Malaka, are you asking? Yes, cost of goods sold is anyway used for inventory. Inventory is linked with cost of goods sold. Debtor linked with credit sales. Creditor linked with credit purchases. If we have not specified, we use COGS for 2 occasions and sales for debtors. If you have given, yes, you use credit sales for debtor computation, credit purchases for creditor computation, and stocks, obviously, COGS. Right. Any further questions? Fine. Let's see same kind of a question. We that day we missed it on the when we are undertaking questions. Not sure it is there. Let's say. Not that one. Sorry. Police is coming. Same thing. Move. There was a question. I'm not sure where it was. All right, this one. Hope you can see this. Because that's the question we missed it last time. There are we have information for company A and company B: turnover, cost of goods sold, overheads, debtors, creditors, raw material. Then we are supposed ask inventory conversion period, like all three what we have done. See whether you can start doing this 2016, 2017. So yeah, we need to compute inventory conversion period, debtor conversion period, and creditor turnover period for 2016 and 2017. And then we are supposed to compute operating cycle and cash cycle. See whether you can do that. Take 5 minutes and do it. I'll try to get something fixed. I think you can see the screen. See whether you can compute that. We have turnover, we have cost of goods sold, we have overheads, we have debtors, we have creditors, we have raw materials. So we have been asked to compute stock turnover period, debtors turnover period, creditors turnover period for 2017. And then we have been supposed to compute operating cycle and cash cycle. What is the answer? Tarindu, have you got answers? Alaka, Dilanjan? What are the answers? What is the stock turnover period? Average stock divided by sales. Sorry, cost of goods sold into 365. This past paper question. 71, 71. Dilanjan, you got the same answer? Or any issues? Very good. Then compute the rest. For the interest of time, we can go to the answer. Right. If you see, yeah, 71.1, 72 days. So what the receivable conversion? Receivable conversion or debtors conversion? Receivable conversion. What is the answer? 55? Yes. What about Malaka and Tarindu? I think, hope you also get the same. Very good. Then creditors. What about the creditors? Again, average creditors divided by cost of goods sold for 2017, because we don't have a credit purchases as Malaka mentioned, right? So if it is so, it's like this. Inventory conversion, so you come up with 71, 55, 58. So the operating cycle is basically the addition of inventory plus receivable. So that is 127 days. Then cash conversion is basically operating cycle minus payable conversion, that's 58 days. So answer is 69 days. So hope you have got that. Any question? Any question? Yeah. 71 plus 55 minus 58. This is cash conversion. Any questions? And that's a 5 marks question. Tarindu, it was like a past paper. So these like kind of questions that we can get, right? I don't think, very difficult questions being asked, but these type of questions we need to be ready. But only thing is like, you need to be very careful. What are the the numbers we have to use? If the credit sales, credit purchase given, then we need to be sure on that. And sometimes the instead of 360, 365, 366 or whatever days can be used, but you put assumption say number of days per year is 365 in my computation. That's it, right? So sometimes, let's say if you in a kind of a position that to get the average or not, but if you say forgot it or it to do, then you say you have not used the averaging and did the computation. So at least then examiner would give some marks. Without any base that he doesn't know whether you have forgotten or you have, you don't know kind of thing. So better you mention averaging used, this is the answer, right? If you have any ambiguity, do whatever and mention it. So at least then examiner would understand, right? So there may be 2 methods, but in this case you have taken average option, which is the correct one. But if you forget it, let's say you have not taken averages, but computation, the small margin of error would happen, but still you can get some marks. right? As I mentioned in the revision classes, if you remember. So think about only to get 45 marks, right? If you take 6 questions out of 20, maybe 12, 7 question 14, right? Only 30 marks has to be scored among the rest 4 subjects questions. So 8 marks in 32 plus 13, something 46 there. So so basically in order to get 8 marks out of 20, so each sub question only to get 2 marks. So it's not a big deal, but only thing is you need to think about what should I write. Maybe 0.4 focus, or you have to see whether in this question, the last one, I think obviously you can get 5 marks if nothing happened on the computation. But so see whether that you can get maximum marks out of those things. Like that, you have to bit of planning also required. This is what basically because we are sitting for exam. So rest anyway, we need to wait for June, right? Our next exam will be like June, I suppose. So we have ample time for us to work for that level. But just since that we have undertaken these questions, so that think that small things, I mean reduce the mistakes that you are happen to commit. Okay. Now we move to the question where this one. Here we have been given some data, 2009 and 2010, and what we have been asked is we have been asked to compute liquidity ratio, efficiency ratio, and comment on working capital position, efficiency ratio, and liquidity. Bit of some advanced sum compared what we have been doing, right? Give a try to compute liquidity ratio and efficiency ratio. So there are 2 liquidity ratios. That is, one is current ratio and quick ratio. So the current ratio is basically current ratio is current assets divided by current liability. Quick ratio, current assets minus stocks divided by current liability. These are the 2 equations that you need to do. So for this question, actually, we have been asked to compute for 2009 and 2010, both, right? Because then only we can do the comparison, right? First, you try to compute the liquidity ratio and then go for the efficiency ratios that we have done it. But in this case, since that we are comparing from 2009 and 2010, no need to get the average. Why? Because you compare 9 versus 10, right? The comparison is taken place, then no averaging is required, just to compute 2009 and 2010. So take some time and do the computation. Any questions? I suppose nothing. So we'll proceed with that. So take some time, right? And then do the computation, right? This is the question, right? Take 5 minutes and see. First compute the liquidity, then go to the efficiency. Then we will comment on the working capital position, efficiency, and liquidity, right? Any difficulty? So if you take 2009, what's the current ratio is? Current assets divided by current liabilities. So current assets is basically 350, current liabilities 248. Just a kind of a division. 2010, current assets 374, current liabilities 218, 374 divided by 218. So that's the current ratio for 9 and 10. Quick ratio is current assets minus stocks. So 350 minus 88 divided by 248. 2010, 374 minus 114 divided by 218. So that's why the current ratio for 2009 and 2010. And quick ratio as well. So any issue on computing that? Please let me know that if you do have any issues, right? Because we can continue, but if you don't have an issue, right? Then we have been asked to compute efficiency ratios. Stock turnover period, debtors turnover period, and creditors turnover period. How we are going to compute that? Now we need not to take what? Averaging. For 2009, what is the stock turnover period? That is 88 inventories divided by cost of sales is 289.9 into 365. When come to the 2010, stocks is 114 divided by cost of sales 348.7 into 365. Debtors, basically 2009, you have 181 divided by, again, sales 362.6 into 365. And 2010, trade receivables is 244 divided by 557.8 into 365. Then come to creditors period. 2009 creditors trade receivables is 56 divided by cost of sales 289.9 into 365. 2010 65 divided by cost of sales 348.7 into 365. So that's how we try to compute that. See whether you have got the answers. If not, I can read it again, but I don't think it's a kind of difficulty. Harindu, Dilanja, Malaka, any issue? Is it clear? This is like answers, based on whatever the discussions that but how they have computed the 2009 and 10 is current ratio and quick ratio has been computed as we have discussed. Instead of stock holding the period, stock holding period is basically the computed stocks divided by cost of sales into 365 for both years. First, see that you have got the answers. Have you got the answers, Tarindu, Dilanja, Malaka? Any different answer? Right, Tarindu got it. Dilanja and Malaka? Fine, very good. So then you are with me, right? First, we see what the the answer given by the examiner. So that's first point set for the computation, and then he has commented on the working capital position. So that is, if you take both years, we see positive working capital. Why? Current assets minus current liability in both years, it's positive. He has commented on that. Then current ratio in general, we say it should be more than 1.5. Quick ratio should be more than 1. That's a norm. But in these two occasions, 2009 it is below, but it has improved to 1.72, which is more than 1.5 requirements. That's one. The quick ratio in both years, it's above 1, which is okay in terms of benchmark. That is the comment he has put. He has commented on the status of the working capital on year, and he has mentioned, he has commented on the current and quick ratio as against the benchmark, which is again showing some positivity compared to 9 to 10, and by 10 it is more than the requirement. Fine. Then he asked about, we have been asked to compute efficiency ratio, stock holding, debtors turnover, creditors turnover. If you take stock holding, it's like almost 4 months, but we can't tell whether it's good or bad depending on the stock type. It could change. Say it is something about paddy related, it's something 6 or more. Since it's a leather oriented, because it has been not mentioned, but subsequently we were told it's a leather. So hence that 4 months is not bad, because leather is not going to perish, not going to deteriorate it. So you can keep a leather stock for about a sizable period. So 4 months, but from year on year also not, increase heavily. 111, 119, only 8-day enhancement. So we say stock holding period is like acceptable level. Data collection 182 has come down 160. Good move. They have reduced the data collection from 180 to 160. But if it is 6-month data, in any mean, it's not good. Right? Happening in slow phase, but it's a positive. But so 6-month data period compared to 4-month stock is not good. That also we can comment it. But general understanding is 3-to-1. Right? Current ratio 1.5, quick ratio 1. Like in efficiency, we say in general, 3-month stock, 2 months data, 1 month creditor. 3-to-1 is the basic no. But there are enough occasions that this has not been followed, because depending on the industry, it could change. But in majority of industries, we prefer 3-to-1, or they are multiplus, like 3-month stocks, 2 months data, 1 month creditor. Fine. So creditors maybe 2 to 3 months. So that is not kind of major deviation, major improvement, or major reduction, deterioration from 9 to 10. So that is acceptable. 71.68. Right. Then if you say liquidity management, that current ratio and the efficiency ratio is quite acceptable. And in terms of though in 2009 the company recorded net loss, the profitability is negative, but working capital is positive. So like that is the comment we can give for the profit versus the liquidity. So this is the type of expectations examiner would have from us when we have been given bit of advanced question. We need to compute that part will get 5 marks. We need to interpret in this way. What happened to quick ratio? What happened to liquidity? What happened to efficiency? And so on and so forth. Right. So any questions? Any questions? Please let me know any questions. If not, I just wanted to share some 1 or 2 thoughts with you before moving to the next one. All clear? All good? Arindu Dilanja, we are done. Malaka? Okay, very good. Right. So now we will move to a small extension, that is right. Now you can see the board, I suppose. Now sometimes instead of stock turnover period, sometimes we have been asked to compute stock turnover ratio. Then what could be the change that you are going to do in the equation? Normally, STP, stock turnover period, is average O normal stock divided by cost of goods sold into 365. This is for the STP. Say STR, stock turnover ratio. This is common to debtors turnover ratio, creditors turnover ratio, right? And all and other equation. So if it is so, what could be the equation? What could be the stock turnover ratio? Any thoughts? How we are going to change the equation? How we are going to do the change? in the equation. What's the change? Any thoughts? Right, very good. Here, COGS divided by average stock, simple. Because it's times. Here, average stock divided by cost of goods sold is 365, you get the stock turnover period. If you want to say stock turnover ratio, it is cost of goods sold divided by average stock. එතකොට මෙතන එනවා මොන හරි times. So then if it's times, if you want to compute the STP, apa මොකද කරන්නේ? Then STP, in other words, is 365 divided by STR. Simple. So same equation, we have tweak it to different to get that info. Right? STP is average stock divided by cost of goods sold 365. So when you compute that, it is coming number of days. STR is COGS divided by average stock. It comes in times. So STP 365 STR. So here also, if you say, what happened here? The equation in STP divided by 365 is equal to average stock by COGS. And the equation is right here. STR. So STP divided by this thing is, right? If you mark 365 divided by STP is equal to COGS divided by average stock. STP yeah, STR. Again, STR. Right? STR is basically impacting keyword 365 divided by STP. My equation they try to move here and there, but depending on the question that you need to answer. So generally, stock turnover period is average stock divided by cost of goods sold into 365. That we know. So sometimes they might ask to compute stock turnover ratio. So stock turnover ratio is basically cost of goods sold divided by stock. So if you know these two, then you can compute rest. Rest in the sense, STR STP how many times per year? 5 times 365 divided by 5 is the number of days you are keeping the stock. Say one time now, STP is 365. 2 times 180. 365 divided by 2. Stock turn. So if you say that stock is being turned 30 times, mean stock turnover period $. So like maybe restaurant business. But the paddy rice milling, so you might turn it on 2 times. But the masa hayakata stock. So STP, STR, similar debtors turnover period, debtors turnover ratio. Similar creditors turnover period, creditors turnover ratio. COGS sales debtor. COGS average creditors creditors. Any questions? If not clear, please let me know. Pilanja clear? Harindu? Malaka? Right. What about Harindu? Dilanjo, you are okay? Right. Then sometimes for MCQ, we have seen some kind of question. I'll try to do it because it's good in terms of liquidity ratio. We have been told that say current ratio is 1.2 times, quick ratio is 1.1 times, and stocks 10,000 or so, right? We have been asked to compute net working capital. Current assets minus current liability. What is that? See whether you can do that. So we have been given current ratio is 1.2 times, quick ratio is 1.1 times, stocks 10,000 kilo. Now we have been asked to compute net working capital, which is current assets minus current liability. Take 3 minutes and see whether you can compute that. What would be the answer? .2, 1.1, stocks 10,000. Then current ratio, quick ratio. Any answers, Malaka? Karindu? Right. Means good that we selected this question. This is like sometimes it's probable one. So how we are going to do that? Now, what is current ratio? Current assets minus, current assets divided by current liability is equal to 1.2 times. Means current assets is equal to 1.2 current liability. That is equation 1. Got it? 3 of you done? Current assets is equal to 1.2 CL. No issue with that equation, right? Malaka, Tarindu, Dilanjo, okay? Right. Then this one, quick ratio, current assets minus stocks divided by current liability is equal to 1.1. There you have been given this is 10,000. Current assets minus 10,000 is equal to 1.1 current liability. That's the equation number 2. Now we have 2 equations. That is current assets is equal to 1.2 CL. Current assets minus 10,000 is equal to 1.1 CL. Right? Now can we solve the equation by using this? Instead of this one, you can put this here. Right? That is current assets is basically again telling 1.2 current liability, because I am taking equation 1, substituting equation 2 minus 10,000 is now 1.1 current liability. Make CL minus CL is equal to 10,000. So 0.1 CL is equal to 10,000. So divided by both this one, CL is something 100,000. Equation 3. Current liability is now 100,000. Then if you take these two, current asset is equal to 1.2 current liabilities, that is 1.2 100,000, 120,000. Equation 4. Right? What we need to do is now net working capital, that is is current assets minus current liabilities. That is equation 4, 120,000, 100,000. So that is 20,000. See whether you got understood. Any questions? Harindu Malaka Dilanj. Did you get this? Please let me know. I can repeat, but you need to understand, because especially Tarindu, you are sitting exam this time. So there may be a likelihood that, you know, there may be some MCQ question, because we had a couple of MCQs to that extent, but would be a repeat. See whether you understand this. Malaka, how did you see this? Is it okay? Right. Dilanja, how do you see this? Is it clear?
I'm a little bit confused. There are we get dividing by 10,000 in that.
Yeah, just you need to say, this one.
Yeah, that one.
So is it clear? 1.2 CL minus 10,000 is 1.1 CL. Is it clear?
Yes.
Right. So then 1.2 minus 1.1 is 0.1 CL is equal to 10,000. And then what I want to do is I will divide by 0.1 here, 0.1 here. When you divide by 0.1 here is 10,000 divided by 0.1 is ended up with 100,000.
Right.
What about Harindu?
Yeah, I understand.
So Dilanja, you are silent. Right, very good. Right, so then, so this is like sometimes it could be 2 marks question, but see how basically the examiner would, you know, provide us. Then think about the 2 or 3 equations here: current assets liability, and in current assets divided by current liabilities, current ratio and quick ratio. Just put the numbers and get the answer. So there will be a kind of some questions to that extent, because now the examiner would assume that this is kind of very familiar area, right? Right. So basically now what I'm going to do is I will, you know, actually got downloaded the kind of some a kind of working capital test sort of thing, which is, it's good for, like, you know, MCQ type of questions, and it gives a kind of some basic understanding. So we will have that you know, questionnaire type of thing first, and then next week we'll move to some other kind of 1 or 2 questions, I think, which is relevant in this working capital. In the meantime, I think Tarindu, you join the revision class with me, right?
Yeah, so this time I joined. Yeah.
Right. So there actually we have discussed the working capital estimation question. You remember that? like the computation of raw material, WIP kind of thing.
Yes.
Right, do it again, and if you do have any question, please let me know during next couple of days, because I think that is the the question, the hardest question so far we have got. So do it twice or thrice, and if anything, let me know, because now I am not going to do the similar sum here because it needs a bit of time. So we will do it next week with the team, and but for you, since that you are sitting the exam, do it again before going to the exam, right?
All right, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So now we are trying to do a kind of some working capital test. So what you could do is, because there are 10 questions here. So each question, so take a paper and you can put 1 or 2, like, so answers will automatically, I will share with you. So what you could do is, we'll show the answer and we'll show the question with answers. You can mark your answer, and then at the end of each question, you can say whether it's right or wrong. And after the 10th question, so you'll see how much you have done it correctly, right? Okay, so start with this one. I hope you can see the screen. Right, this is the test consists of 10 questions designed to test your understanding of working capital management. Link provides you with the choice of answer along with explanation and solutions. You need a calculator to complete this test, right? So this is the first question. Why this is working capital management is important? To ensure liquidity, to ensure profitability, to ensure that the management get larger bonuses. So you can have your answer A or B or C and have it first place. Then we will see the answer. It's like that we will move question 1 to question 10, and ultimately we see how much you have got corrected, but not actually I want how much correct or how much wrong, but this is kind of some overview of the working capital, which is important for even coming exam, right? So please answer A or B or C. Ensure liquidity, ensure profitability, ensure that the management get large bonuses, right? So let's say now we see the answer. So if we have selected the profitability, what would you say? Profitability is important, but it is not the correct answer. Try again. So ensure liquidity, yes, liquidity is the vital factor. So we discussed that, working capital management mainly addresses the liquidity and the efficiency. So thereafter, it will move to the profitability. So answer the first, the question 1 answer is the first one, liquidity. Whoever who has mass liquidity will get the 1 correct mark, right? Number 2, working capital is current assets versus the non-current assets, current assets versus the current liabilities, non-current assets versus the non-current liabilities. So you can have your answer A or B or C. Suppose we selected the current assets to non-current assets. No, it's wrong. And then if you say non-current assets to non-current liabilities, no, it's again wrong. Answer is working capital is about current assets versus current liabilities. So that's the correct answer, right? Third one, efficient working capital management can assist with sustainable growth, will result in increased taxes, will immediately increase profits. What is your answer? A, B, C? So you have to have your answer. So suppose if you go with the third one, no, whilst it will release cash, it will normally take time to invest this cash to generate profit. So it means if you do working capital right, means liquidity properly, yes, will receive, reverse, save some cash, but you can invest that cash into business, but it does not give immediate profits. It will take a long term, maybe medium to long term profitability enhancement. So answer could be 1. Efficient control of working capital will release cash to enable company to grow. So you can increase the turnover, right? You can push the turnover, increase the revenue, but ultimately, yes, it will increase the profitability. So answer is A there. Credit control is about managing credit control. Now, those words are important, right? Credit controller, in terms of organization, some hierarchy, is a person who manage creditors, manage account receivable, manage account payable. Now, what is your answer? Accounts payable, account receivable, and creditors. You need to argue sometimes. Credit control. A, B, C. If you see this, accounts payable and creditors are more or less same. So obviously you can have a logical answer saying answer B. If you take accounts payable, say wrong. Account payable, creditors are amounts that are owed to supplier. Owed to supplier. Let's try again. They say. So answer is account receivable, right? Correct. So please check this one. So GIT, inventories, is an efficient way for management to control inventories and carries little risk. True to some extent. Just in time. GIT, not very popular in Sri Lanka, but in other countries it's been used heavily. So efficient way, if you say true, yeah, partly correct, but appreciate that there are risks in running out and that's not able to produce goods. Because if you say that it's always, no, it's not always, because there may be chances that stock run out, especially like pandemic situation. What could happen if you are doing the GIT? So probably outright out of the business. And if if you have something with you, then you maybe manage to do the business. So the answer could be B there, right? Factoring of accounts receivable is always recommended. True or false? Say account receivable is we call debtors. So what you can do is you can do a factoring facility for this account receivable. Always recommended. True or false? What is your answer? If you say true, they say wrong. It's an expensive form of finance and say that the company is in financial difficulty. False? Yes, answer is correct. Financially, usually expensive, but if you can, get the customers to pay, offering some discounts and all that, that's much better than always going for factoring, because it's an expensive product. It's always recommended to take much credit that suppliers offer. True, false? What's your answer? A or B? Take as much as credit. No. If you say true, partly, often attractive discounts can be lost by delay in paying suppliers. Because now, if you say, then the credit I'll take kind of thing, will not always good. Because sometimes when you pay creditors, you may some get discounts offered by the creditors. So you need to see kind of answer. If false, correct. You have to appreciate that often discounts of 2 to 3% are offered to pay suppliers quickly, and this represents an annual rate in excess of 30 to 40%. Remember, so like 2 to 3% per month, in the sense 12 months 40% annual rate. So that's how you need to work with. What is the key benefit of forecasting? Focuses management on financial targets and ensure there are no surprises. Reduces the need to pay dividends. Forecasting, so the future looking. Projection, right? I mean, planning for the future means A. Answer A. 9. Pro forma statement. So that's actually we are undertaking this session under section 1009. It's all about future. Historical, current, future. So if you take historical, wrong. Current, again wrong. It's future, it's correct, because it is the future perspective. Effective inventory management can release cash that can be invested elsewhere in the business, rarely brings long-term results, increase the risk of obsolescence. So effective inventory management, proper, correct inventory management can, let's say if you select C, it's wrong. If you select B, it's a wrong. If you select A, yes, correct, because it releases cash where you can invest in other areas. So that's basically a small exercise just to recap the overview of the working capital management, and even some could be tested in the MCQ for past papers, right? Okay, right, that's done. And before moving to the how much correct, how much Nilakshi, I'm sorry that I didn't see the question 3 because I didn't see your this thing. We'll go to the question 3. This is the question, Nilakshi, about efficient working capital management can assist with sustainable growth, will result in increased taxes, will immediately increase profit. So answer is basically A. So if we say C, no, while it will release cash, it will normally take time to invest this cash to generate profit, because yes, it is released, but it does not give you immediate profits. But immediate growth, yes, not immediate profits. So answer is basically A there. Right. So how do you feel this? How many of you got 10 out of 10? Oh, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10? So Dilanj, how much you got correct? 8, very good. Malaka, Tarindu, Nilakshi, very good, very good. Shah, you are great. Means that you just got the kind of a concept right. Nilakshi, what about you? Nilakshi, what is your results? Very good, because actually you have just joined. You have missed the initial sessions also, but please get the whatever notes and the presentations that we have been sharing so far. But if you miss anything, please let me know. And what I want to just to highlight today is basically we just understand about working capital concept and working capital management and kind of some definitions. And we did basic computations about current quick ratio and operating cycle and networking kind of cycle. And then also we try to interpret a kind of given question in terms of examination purposes. Also, we try to do a kind of MCQ type of question, could be possibility in time to come. And we also did a kind of a smaller questionnaire to support overview of the working capital. So next week, I'm planning to continue with the working capital, because we need to do a kind of estimation of working capital, because which is very important area. And we try to do 1 or 2 past paper questions also to support that. And if time permits, then we will do some issues based in working capital, like over trading. Tarindu, for you, this is like you need to also look into this over trading, because we have done in the revision class. Please refer that before going to the exam next week. The rest we have time, and we will discuss that in the next week as well. So before conclusion, any questions, any gray areas, any difficulties, any feedbacks for today's session? All are fine, all are good. Right. Okay, Tarindu, again, all the best for you for the next week. Let's see, this time that, we will go through this. I mean, no more revisions or no more, repeats. So we'll do it this time. And thanks, Dilanja. And what about Malak and Nilakshi? I presume that you all also in line with others. Right. So what we'll do is, like, we will meet next week, then we will continue with working capital, and then we'll move to the rest of the area. So I invite, thanks Nilakshi, thanks Malaka. So I invite you to again, refer whatever the materials we have done so far, because it's good that if you clear those things, rather than waiting for the exams or revisions, because then and there you can do the past papers and get it clear. Any doubts, because it's very easy to score a paper like development financing, but then don't wait for the last moment. So at the last moment, then we can do a different experiments and exercises, because then it will enhance your knowledge. Right. So having said that, so I'm going to wind up for today, and let's meet next week at same time. And all the very best, and Have a safe week ahead. Thank you.